tensions are rising. Iran says it will breach the uranium limit set by the 2015 nuclear agreement, putting pressure on European allies to salvage this deal. President Trump issued a warning to Tehran yesterday. Watch.
Iran better be careful, because you enrich for one reason, and I won't tell you what that reason is, but it's no good. They better be careful.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says that there could be increased sanctions, and the European Union is extremely concerned and calling on Iran to reverse any actions that go against this nuclear deal. Joining us right now is former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, author of the book Collusion, Newt Gingrich. Newt, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, it's good to be with you, and you're right. You have a lot of things going on. I want to go back to an earlier segment, though, and tell you I have been to the zoo on Cheyenne Mountain. It's a great zoo, and they've had a remarkable experience of breeding animals. So I'm thrilled that a baby giraffe made it onto your show.
I know, us too. It was so cute, and it was a beautiful picture. We're waiting to see actually what is it, a boy or is it a girl? So we'll let you know when we find out. Look, there's a lot going on in terms of the 2020 race. You know that the president and his handling of foreign policy, whether it be Iran or China. Who in the Democratic field could come close to the president's handling of some of these foreign policy issues? And now you've got this split going on with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi criticizing far-left House Democrats, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for voting against the $4.6 billion border deal that the president signed into law.
Yeah, look, I think you're beginning to see the bloom come off of the excitement the Democrats had after they won last year. Speaker Pelosi, who I think is essentially right in this argument, is really faced with some people who are virtually crazy, and she doesn't know what to do with them. And I think she's going to keep taking them on.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're counterattacking, taking her on. I think on the question of foreign policy, this is a major challenge when you're running for president. Vice President Biden clearly has the experience to have been in the room. He knows leaders around the world.
Right.
He's probably the person who has the best opportunity, except that he's Joe Biden, and in the end, he's not going to be there. So when you get past Biden, I think they have a real stature gap problem that isn't obvious yet. You start thinking about nuclear weapons, negotiating with China, negotiating with North Korea. I'm not sure there's any Democrat who's going to be able to stay in the arena next summer with Trump or debate Trump next fall and have any kind of believability.
Yeah, no, you make a good point, especially since they're not focusing on it at all right now. Some of the most important issues you do not hear at all in the conversation among the Democrats. The speaker said in an interview with the New York Times, quote, all these people have their public whatever and their Twitter world, but they didn't have any following. They're 4 people, and that's how many votes they got. Ocasio-Cortez fired back on Twitter. I mean, they actually had a brawl right there for the public to watch. She said this, that public whatever is called public sentiment, and wielding the power to shift it is actually how we actually achieve meaningful change in this country. Now, you were critical of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. What about this most recent fight?
Well, look, I just think that what she said about the border, what she said about American government employees was viciously dishonest. She knew it was dishonest. It weakens the United States. Here you have a person who votes against paying for the extra money, which the Border Patrol said they desperately need, and then attacks the Border Patrol when they don't get the money she doesn't want to give them.
Right.
There's something so fundamentally, profoundly wrong about her and about her whole approach to things. But, by the way, the person who really captured the current mood was Willie Brown, the brilliant former Speaker of the House in California who knows Kamala Harris very, very well. And he just wrote a column that said, based on those first round of debates, there is nobody running who is going to beat Donald Trump. And I think that should sober Democrats. Willie Brown is one of the smartest professional politicians the Democratic Party's had in the last generation. And he just thinks none of these people have the ability to stay in the ring with Donald Trump. And
he was for a long time, very close with Kamala Harris.
He really was, and I think that they may have had a falling out. But he's just a great professional. I used to watch him when he was Speaker of the Assembly with great admiration because he could outmaneuver everybody in both parties. And I think what he's telling you is, when you think about getting beyond the, all of them raise their hand, for example, and say they want open borders,
and they want to give health care to illegals. I mean, there are people in this country, legal citizens, who are not getting proper health care, and yet they want to give health care to illegals.
And now you have the new game where they actually go down across the border to help teach people how they can break into the United States. So you have Senator Booker, in essence, helping people learn how to violate American law. Well, all this stuff erodes their ability to get to the center. My next newsletter is going to be about George McGovern, the election of '72, and what we're seeing right now, because there are really powerful parallels, I think, to the isolation of the McGovern campaign.
Hey, Newt, Jack Howe from Barron's Magazine. Let's just say that if I had watched those debates, theoretically, let's say I agree with your analysis, that I was looking for something to like and I didn't really find it. How late is too late for some new face to show up in this race? Is it already too late? Do we already see everybody we're going to possibly see running for the Democrats?
As we know, Tom Steyer now says he wants to get into the race, Newt.
That you raised a really good question. My sense is, I'm trying to think back to my own experience. I think you could probably, if you have enough resources, and Steyer obviously is a billionaire, if you have enough resources, I think you could probably get in the race as late as December and be competitive almost everywhere. I mean, the question would be, when can you get on the ballot in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina? That would be the first break point. And then the Democrats have brought a lot of their primaries up so that they're earlier than they used to be.
Yeah.
But I think if you had enough resources, you could see one or two more candidates come in. And frankly, in the age of instant television and cable and Twitter and Facebook, you can move very, very fast.
Tom.
Newt, this is Tom Bevan back in studio. Back to Iran. I mean, obviously, events can intervene in presidential campaigns, obviously, and where we're going with Iran, tensions rising. Trump keeps making these veiled threats, warning Iran to be careful. How do you see this playing out? And is there any chance that we're going to get European allies to come on board and help with sanctions to keep this thing contained?
There's a chance, and I know that Secretary Pompeo is working very hard to do just that. The challenge is, even when the Iranians announce they're breaking the deal, that the Europeans are so desperate to sell them goodies and to help the European economy, which is not very strong, that they sort of close their eyes and cling to it and hope something good will happen. If you look around the planet, I think this is very sobering. You have an Iranian problem, you have North Korea, you have Venezuela, you have negotiations with China, you have Russia being as aggressive as Putin can figure out how to be. I mean, all of these are challenges that are very real. And at the same time, you have the kind of weakness we see with Brexit and the collapse of the British government. This is a time of very substantial uncertainty.
All this, Newt, by the way, the president is going to be meeting with the emir of Qatar tomorrow. Important meeting. Yes. Obviously, the emir is in town. Apparently, I heard there's a big dinner that Stephen Mnuchin is hosting for the emir, and then the president will meet with him tomorrow, critical ally in the Middle East. What's your reaction to this?
Well, look, I think that there's a very important issue here, and I've talked at great length with the American airlines that are deeply involved in this. Qatar claimed that it was going to quit cheating on the deals it had with the United States and undermining the American airlines. Qatar has been deliberately undercutting and acting in ways that make it impossible for a free market company to compete in the Middle East. They promised several months ago that they would stop. They haven't stopped. And certainly those of us who are working this issue hope that the president's going to look them in the eye and say, look, you've got to keep your word. We want to inspect results, not just words. And this is for the future of the American airline industry. This is a very big issue.
And they're a supporter of Muslim Brotherhood. The president has not, I guess, deemed them a terrorist organization yet, but that's coming. I understand. Yeah.
And they're, by the way, they're pretty isolated. I mean, the Saudis are against them, the UAE is against them, the United Arab Emirates. So Qatar is not coming here from a position of great strength, and I suspect they're eager to find some way to make Secretary Mnuchin and President Trump happier.
That's a good point. Newt, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Good to be with you.
Newt Gingrich
Thank you.
there.